What's interesting is the issues with the offense that have existed all year long, and that are things that you absolutely have to fix. You know, and you have to get. You got to get the playmakers in here. And it's so funny because I remember when the team was doing well and you guys were talking about it, I think you and Alex did one podcast where you said both of you will literally like quit the beat if they don't sign if they don't sign an offensive tackle with their first pick in the first round, or something to that effect. Is your thinking changed?
I want them to get a guy. I want them to get a guy for Mac. I do.
It's
I
so
don't know
funny
if I
because
don't want
you're
it to
like
be
the
in
sensible.
the
You're the sensible guy.
I'm the I'm the offensive line guy.
You've brought Evan over to the dark side of the weapons with a Z, you know?
Okay, the reason being is the two things that I keep coming back to are, number one, I just can't look at the rest of the playoff picture and see all these other teams that have all this receiving talent at their disposal, right? And tomorrow, the first game tomorrow, Dallas, San Francisco. How many freaking guys do those two teams have that their quarterbacks can get the ball to? Dallas has CD, they have Amari Cooper. Gallup's hurt. He's a third guy that they normally have. Those two guys are better than anybody on the Patriots, Lamb and Cooper, right? That doesn't count the tight end Dalton Schultz. That doesn't count Zeke and Tony Pollard out of the backfield. San Francisco's got Kittle. They got Debo. They got Elijah Mitchell.
I'll take Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, Cedric Wilson's like Kendrick Bourne, right? Like Cedric Wilson's, he's their fifth receiver, but he's on the Patriots, he'd be their number 2 or their number 3. Yeah. I'm not even joking. So you look at
I'm not. I'm just saying I'll take,
Yeah, you look at
we haven't even mentioned Ayuk, we haven't even mentioned Brandon Ayuk,
The Green Bay's got Devontae Adams. Dallas has got their guys. San Francisco's got their guys. Tom has got his guys down in Tampa. All these people have all their dudes, right? They have their guys. That Allen's got Diggs, and he's got Davis, and he's got McKenzie, and he's got Knox, and he's got Singletary, and he's got all these players that can go out there and make plays for him. And these Patriots just don't have those guys. And the second thing that Burrow's got Chase, so we can talk about that, right? Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Mixon and all these playmakers down in Cincinnati. You could talk about all this, and then you can also talk about the fact that I have a lot of faith. Remarkably, the position that the Patriots can definitely draft is offensive line, right? So I have a lot of faith that the Patriots will find a left tackle somewhere, whether
this
it's
this
a guy that they get.
This is where you could point to the 2019 draft as the thing that set you back. You may point to the 2020 free agent class as well. You spent that money. You spent it. Now you don't have it.
Yeah. Well, so Nelson Agholor has only got 1 more year on his contract. Yes. So that one's that they can get out pretty easily. If not this year, then definitely next offseason.
But you're missing. You can't keep missing. When you spend capital, whether it's money or draft picks, you can't miss this many times. That's what's killing you, and then so they're going back to the drawing board on something that they've invested capital in, but they don't have 5 first-round picks and $100 million to spend this offseason. So they can't address everything.
Okay, they can't address everything, but I also just want to say that I'm done with the damn it cap excuses. Like, Bill got away with that with me for one offseason last year with the COVID season, because I was like, look, Tom Brady left. Like, you're not going to be a good team. Cam Newton's your quarterback. Whatever. In fact, we talked about it on here constantly last year that they were too good, right? They should have been worse. And so they go into that season and they somehow win 7 games, which was probably a mistake looking back on it. But regardless of all of that, I don't want to hear the excuses that they don't have the cap space, because cap space is always manageable. Like, I was reading Miguel Benzon's Twitter past cap a couple days ago, and he said that they could convert Matthew Judon's salary into a salary advance and save $7 million on the cap just like that, right? Just like that. So there's a million moves that they can make like that on the salary cap.
You're becoming Felger with the cap is crap.
It's not that it's crap.
I know. I'm not kidding. I'm with you.
Right?
It's
do
flexible.
A ton with it. You can do things with it.
Yeah.
And you look at teams like the Los Angeles Rams, for instance, that make every trade under the sun. We're going to bring in Von Miller. We're going to bring in Odell Beckham. We're going to bring in Matthew Stafford. And they just do all of it. And they figure it out. They figure out how to pay everybody. They figure out how to spread the money around and all that kind of stuff. come on. Like if
Figure it
Calvin
out.
Ridley is, if
Right.
Calvin Ridley,
Where did Calvin Ridley go to school? I forget.
So I was going to bring it up because Calvin Ridley was apparently their second choice in the 2018 draft. It was between Isaiah Wynn and Calvin Ridley in the first round of the 2018 draft, and they took the lineman because they're the Patriots, and they took the
But
lineman.
Belichick
right?
loves second drafting.
Yes. So Calvin Ridley was a guy that they liked in the 2018 draft. Now, there's a lot going on with Calvin Ridley off the field that the Patriots are going to have to vet and make sure that he's comfortable with playing and all that kind of stuff. It's a good program to come to for those types of guys. Are very regimented, very strict, all those types of things. So there's a chance that it would work here with Calvin Ridley. Great route runner, explosive player, plays inside, plays outside, fits the bill, fits what they want to do, all those types of things. Make it happen. If you feel like that's the guy, then make it happen. And if it takes a first round pick, I don't know, because they're going to have now probably like the 17th or the 18th, 19th, something like that draft pick. I don't know if I take a top 20 pick for Calvin Ridley, but let somebody else make that mistake, right? Because I don't know if that's going to actually happen. But I don't know. It just it's frustrating to watch Mac have to go make water out of wine or wine out of water, whatever the thing is.
And it shouldn't have been this way, considering the resources they put in. That's what's frustrating to me is, did these players bust and they weren't who we thought they were, or did the Patriots fail in figuring out how to use them?
Some of them are definitely busts. Jonnu Smith was not the player they thought. They thought not only. Look, it's funny because I remember reading an ESPN article right before free agency started where they go around and they poll all the executives around the league of the top 10 tight ends in the NFL, who the top 10 wide receivers are in the NFL. And Jonnu Smith was an honorable mention on the tight end list. But the one thing that the scout that was interviewed about it said was he is not a traditional tight end. You have to be creative with the way that you use him. You can't just go ask him to go out there and run routes and expect him to be effective and whatnot. And the Patriots thought that was the player that they were getting. They thought that they were getting a guy that they could say, hey, Jonnu, go run 8 yards, make a cut, get open at the top of the route, create separation, catch the ball, make a play. That's not who Jonnu Smith is. Jonnu Smith is a gadget player. Jonnu Smith is a space player is what I would call it. Somebody that you have to scheme up and design and figure out ways to get him the ball in space and let him run. Every single time the Patriots got Jonnu the ball in some space, some breathing room on a screen or on a jet sweep or motion or something like that, he made a play with the ball. He was really good with the ball in his hands all year long. They just didn't find ways to get him the ball often enough. And that's definitely extremely frustrating. And I don't know. I just look at the talent gap in those position groups because I don't know if the Patriots have as much of a massive talent gap in, let's say, line the trenches, right? The offensive and defensive line.
Sure.
I think they're pretty relatively even there.
With depth in the secondary, speed in the linebacker core, and playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Easier said than done. And then you probably need some depth at offensive tackle. It's quite a few. The problem is receiver and tackle are premium positions that you have to spend either big money on or high draft capital in order to get a difference maker. You can maybe plug some holes other places. You're not going to go find a Micah Parsons.
I have faith in them be able to find. Here's the thing.
And they can find linemen deeper in drafts. They're good at that.
They can find a tackle. They can find secondary play. I believe in that.
They'll find a guy who was like a guard tackle hybrid.
They'll find a JC Jackson. They'll find somebody to plug in the secondary. The problem that I have is two things. One, they can't pick a receiver, whether it's pro receivers or college receivers, unless they go out and they give up the bank for a all-pro like a Devontae Adams, which isn't happening. I'm just saying, unless he's somebody that's that good, translating him and getting him in here and integrating him in here and making that work is problematic. And the second thing is, I don't know if Bill will quit the thumping linebackers. I don't know if he will quit the Bentleys and the High Towers and the Van Noys and these 250, 260 linebackers. I don't know if he will quit them. And his response to all of that instead of drafting these, like, because they've had plenty of opportunities to draft those types of guys, like a Patrick Queen in Baltimore sitting right there. They could have had him, guys like that. But you look at all this, and their response to it is, we're going to play Kyle Duggar there.
That's the point. They play the big safeties. The big
right. They play these hybrid big safeties there. But the problem is that those guys can still get run over by these spread offenses, right? Buffalo can still run those guys over. Last week, Miami ran over Adrian Phillips really, really badly on a third down play. It wasn't his fault. He had two blockers coming right at him. But if you're Adrian Phillips and you're sitting there in the box and you're 220 pounds and you have a tackle that's 300 pounds coming up to come up to you at the second level, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? So you got to get some guys in here, like the Bills linebackers have, or some of these other players that are able to take on blocks, but also have the speed to play in the passing game. And those guys don't grow on trees, but they're becoming more and more regular because the college teams are looking for them, right? The college teams need them as well, probably more so than the NFL teams. So I think that's a big thing too. And, I see people in the chat saying we're letting Josh McDaniels off the hook. I think we bashed Josh McDaniels for the last 45 minutes, so I'm not sure about that.